3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for May 30th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Monster Hunter Wilds is shaping up to be another breakout moment for the series. And what is the future of Summer Game Mess? But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Jason Finelli, everybody. Jason, how are you doing?
I am. Oh my God, that was so sinister. Are you sure you're okay?
I am doing the best that I can with this voice. It's different every day on every episode now. I feel like the live show I sounded one way, the first episode back I sounded another, and now this is a whole new voice at this point. But I'm getting there. I'm getting back.
Glad to see you're finally growing up, becoming an adult.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am become a man. I went out and I did the Jeff Keighley walkabout. I murdered some Lego animals in a video game and came back to the tribe, and they accepted me as a man. It was a pretty good deal. Yes.
That's
also,
good.
Very good Fatal Fury shirt. That looks really cool.
Yeah, I was part of the preview event in SNK World Championships back in March, and while I was there, I saw this shirt, and I'm like, "Yep, that's coming home with me. Let me give you some money for it." Yeah, it's I'm feeling pretty good. Actually, we were talking about this before we went live. I'm not like when I came home, I felt like I got hit by the video games truck, but I have since slowly but surely gotten back into my normal routine. That's helped. Family, being around the family always helps. That energy is always great. Especially with last day of school energy yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone was hype. But yeah, things are all right. Starting to motor through the articles that I have to write. That was 6 down, 12 to go.
All right.
Across the different outlets. Had a couple go up today. One we're going to talk about in a little while. Yeah, it's how you feeling? How you feeling from all that hosting?
I feel pretty good. It was a lot of fun. Always enjoy it. It was like, we got back and we're like, okay, what can we do better? What are we gonna do next time? I'm like, no, next time. I don't want to talk about next time yet. Let me have a break first. So
yeah, that's fair.
We'll figure that all out at some point. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good. It was a good time. I am glad that this seems to be the thing that everyone is agreeing is like, yes, it is worth it to go out to LA and see each other for this. I think I said it on yesterday's episode that there were even a lot of companies out there that weren't at Summer Game Fest or IGN Live who were just showing stuff behind closed doors. They were at the JW or some other hotel. They were just in town for meetings. They were just in town to show off games to whoever, whether that was the press or publishers or something like that. And that, to me, that's the real good sign that there is more happening here than we realize. And I think that is crucial to keeping the industry flying out to LA once a year for this at the very least. And then that'll enable us to do all the fun stuff that we like to do. But
it's weird. This sort of felt like someone took the E3 experience, not to invoke the he who shall not be named,
sure,
but it split it into 3 parts. So you had the industry creator part or industry media only part of E3 at Playdays. You had the public part of E3 in its later years at IGN Live. And then you had secret E3 and what you were just talking about, those secret meetings behind closed doors. Now, whether that's just showing stuff to media or if there was business happening too remains to be seen. They're behind closed doors, so I don't know. But yeah, I completely agree with you. The fact that all these components were still there, just in different places, that to me is a good sign.
Yep. All right. We should probably explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Monster Hunter Wild Story Co-op will be more seamless than in past games. So yeah, we have as part of these embargoes we were talking about, it seems like there's going to be several beats now where we talk about some of these games that people got to see or got to play. Monster Hunter Wilds, my understanding is, everyone got a hands-off gameplay, and yeah, that didn't stop people from raving about it all week when we were there. And now we're finally getting like even more details about it, starting here with James Carr at GameSpot. In Monster Hunter Wilds, Capcom has made a few changes to help alleviate some of the co-op headaches present in Monster Hunter World when it comes to story missions. Capcom has said it made improvements to the multiplayer matchmaking and taken fan feedback into consideration to make the experience much smoother. Speaking with GameSpot, Monster Hunter Wilds director Yuya Tokuda said that feedback from players has been used to lessen the annoyance of forcing players to watch cutscenes and story missions before they would party up. In Monster Hunter World, you would need to load up the story quest, go into the map, and find the monster, which would trigger the cutscene. After the cutscene finished, you could invite other players to your hunt. This was only true the first time you did each story mission, but it made playing co-op more difficult than most players would like. And here's a quote now. While we could say that there will be some segments where you have to witness certain parts of the story before you can actually start some of those co-op elements, in the background, we've taken care to make sure that players are always connected, or they can stay always connected in terms of co-op parties, Tokuda said. Tokuda also said that while there would still be a few instances where a cutscene would need to be viewed before you could do co-op, the overall headache would be lessened thanks to matchmaking improvements. Players can stay partied up even though these cutscenes and the background matchmaking is always happening, so you could quickly get more players in once the cutscene ends. There will even be a notification as soon as you can invite other players to your section. This is, I think, what people want to hear for this. When I look at this game, I'm like, yeah, I want to hang out with my friends and play this, and do some stuff like here on Giant Bomb, do some gameplay. But there were some headaches with the multiplayer in the last game. So sounds like they are addressing that exactly. And this is precisely what this game needs, because everything else is pretty much in place, right? The Monster Hunter gameplay is as best as it's ever been. The onboarding seems very strong. They've thought about a lot of these problems. They've had a chance to make even more improvements in Rise. And now here we are with Wilds, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Is the multiplayer going to be a headache? And it's like, no, it probably won't be. That's what I want to hear. Are you excited about this?
I am. I was in the hands-off theater presentation as my last appointment of Summer Game Fest. And to those asking in the chat, yes, it's more like a theater presentation. You sit down, they show you 45 minutes of gameplay, they explain what's going on, that whole thing. You don't get to play it yourself, but it's a nice deep dive into what's going on. I completely agree with this decision. There weren't many things to complain about with Monster Hunter World and then subsequently Rise. So the fact that they're addressing what was probably the biggest complaint in the way that multiplayer or co-op worked is awesome, because Monster Hunter, just by its base format, is a game that encourages co-op. I know I can't kill those monsters by myself. I need help. So if I can just seamlessly bring in some friends, no matter when they log on, that's the way it should be. They did show something in the hands-off presentation where 3 people joined the hunter, but I believe they said they were AI hunters, so it wasn't quite the same as what will be the actual finished product. But they weren't there, and then they were there, and they were helping with the hunt he was already in, and they helped him take down the monster finally, and it was really, really cool. So if they can make the co-op easier, particularly in the story for people, so they can link up and play whenever they want, that seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where we were doing that Elden Ring seamless multiplayer mod, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I get that From Software has their way of doing things, and they have specific reasons, and yet it's like, okay, but there's so much benefit of enabling this seamless multiplayer. We were having so much fun. If you could just bring some of these elements into the core game so that more people can experience this across console and without having to update the game, that'd be great. And it sounds like that's exactly what's happening over in the Monster Hunter party over at Capcom, where they're like, yeah, let's just make this make a little bit more sense. It doesn't have to be quite as obtuse. And we need to maybe prioritize this above protecting some certain gameplay purity that they might have been going for before, where it's like, you got to see these cutscenes, you got to do this certain stuff in this certain order before you can unlock these things, and then your party can come together, like you're inviting them to your hunt or whatever. Like, no, just get all that stuff out of the way. Excuse me, and make it about, like, now here you got a party, it's always there, it's always ready to go, and it's just you don't have to think about it. Monster Hunter does seem, when we'll talk about it more here in a second, about like some of the technical improvements beyond the multiplayer that they're making. But in general, you saw the hands-off preview there at Summer Game Fest, the one that everyone is raving about. This is a series that has already had its breakout moment several times now, where it was massive across the world with the handheld games for a long time, especially in Japan, and it was building up an audience all throughout that time. And then Monster Hunter Worlds comes out, and it's like, hey, this is like the new way to like get into this franchise and see what it's all about, and it's much friendlier than ever. And then they did that even more with Rise, and both of those were big moments, and they really did do they fulfilled that promise. And yet somehow I'm looking at this, it's like this could be even bigger than any of that. Do you get that sense?
It definitely seems like it's a vast improvement to a game that has already been vastly improved multiple times. I don't know how they keep doing this. They can't keep getting away with this, Jeff. I think my favorite thing about this was I talked to 3 or 4 different people about the demo that they saw, and we each had little stories or little things that happened in our demo that didn't happen in other demos, and they all sounded awesome, right? So the fact that everybody is playing the same game and doing the same hunts, but can have that unique experience, that unique, and the kind of thing where you're telling stories for years. Remember that time, like in our demo, I don't know if this is one of the ones, but in our demo, so the target of the hunt is chasing the hunter, and they're luring the alpha out of its den and into an open area so they can attack it. Well, the alpha has one of its little friends with it too. So he's being chased by these 2 massive monsters. The alpha backs up a little bit, and the subordinate, let's call him, keeps following the hunter, right? The hunter goes under this arch, and all of a sudden, the ground underneath him turns into this giant whirlpool with a big old lizard in it.
Yeah.
And the bear thing that was chasing him falls in, gone. That was awesome.
That sounds very Phantom Menace. There's always a bigger fish moment. Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. It was so cool to see that happen, like just in real time as part of natural gameplay. And then he had to maneuver around the whirlpool to get back to his actual target. But it was so neat. And then at another point, he somehow summons the apex dragon that's over in a nest over here to help him fight his hunt until his co-op friends can arrive. What is going on in these games?
Yeah.
It was a very, very cool demo. And again, everybody had their own little experience. Everybody had their own thing that they were able to see during it. And you can hear the oohs and ahs. And I only had like 6 or 7 other people in the theater in the little booth with me, because like I said, it was the last appointment of Summer Game Fest. But even that, the noise in that room, just be like, whoa, it's so cool. That game is gonna, as my headline said when I wrote my preview for MMORPG, oh boy, Monster Hunter Wilds is going to take over our lives.
Yeah, it really does feel that way. And for me, I think one of the reasons I'm getting excited, and it's very basic. I'm a basic bitch. I can't help it, Jason. It is even more open and more seamless in terms of the way the world is stitched together, where it's like we know that this is the second effort of the Reach for the Moon engine, the RE engine over at Capcom, of doing an open world game after Dragon's Dogma 2. And to me, that just is how I understand worlds to work. And so it's like things just click into place more easily for me. And so I can imagine a hunt across an open space more easily than I can okay, we're going to this area. And then it's like, if I want to go find this thing, I got to load this other area. And just managing that just makes me a bit of a curmudgeon, where I'm like, that's not how things work. And so the fact that it is, stitched together, it is seamless, it is just going to keep going. I'm like, okay, that's promising. But then I worry about, well, it's going to be this big area. My understanding is Monster Hunter is typically not the kind of thing where it's got a ton of things on screen. And yet that takes us to our next story here. Monster Hunter Wilds will throw way more monsters at you. This is from Jean-Luc Seipke and James Carr at GameSpot. Monster Hunter Wilds will throw more monsters at you at once thanks to the power of the current generation of consoles. Capcom has said that Wilds will feature herds of large monsters, giving players more monsters to contend with during each hunt. In an interview with GameSpot, which you can read the entirety of on the website right now, Monster Hunter Wilds director Yuya Tokuda said that the game will blow past the limitations of previous entries. Instead of the max of 3 monsters running around at once during a hunt, There will now be herds of large monsters, similar to herds of smaller monsters present in previous games. Now, when you reach your target, you may have to contend with multiple of that monster at once. There will even be more large monsters around, which Takuda said will create more dynamic moments in the gameplay, which I think is what you described there. It is like taking the understanding of how Monster Hunter worked previously and extrapolating, like, what if it was bigger? What if it was more? What if it was more seamless, right? In every way. And to me, that's exciting.
Just amping that gameplay up to 11. And yes, I did see both of those things. I described the Apex Dragon when I was talking previously, but when they first approached the main target, the alpha, it was in a den with 2 other of these big bear things. The name is not coming to me at the present moment, but the one who followed it and got sucked into the hole eventually, and then the other one just stayed behind and was like, I'm not dealing with this. Kill him, I'll become the alpha. That's great. But like he's trying to wake up, because they're asleep when you get there, like all 3 of them like huddled sleeping, and he's trying to wake up the alpha one without waking up the other 2. And then when he swings, he somehow wakes up the other 2 and not the alpha. So the other 2 are just coming at him, and he's trying to get around, like, can I get my first poke in? The alpha is just not bothered by any of this, and he finally gets the poke in, and the hunt starts. Wild. It's a fitting name, Wild, because there is a lot happening, and it's very hard to find something bad in what I was seeing. And another thing too is how it balances like this serious hunting, like 4-player co-op with levity and silliness. So the demo starts with you buying some cheese at a market, and then you make your base camp and you cook some food to give yourself some stat boost before you go hunting. Well, in the demo, he makes this like just a steak with this cheese on it. Jeff, the scene of this hunter eating this meat was some of the horniest shit I have ever seen in my life. It like zooms in on the cheese, and his face is like, oh, and then he cuts it and he holds it up in front of his mouth and he eats it, and it's just like it was like
just loosens the throat and eats it in one go, like
he's like chewing on it, and it's like coming. Oh my god, he was really enjoying that steak.
That food looks really good in those games, though. I get it.
It does. Yeah. That I don't know I don't know, Monster Hunter. I would love to know how they research that. Like, how do you research? Could you go to a restaurant and like stare at someone as they're eating get like right up in their face?
Yeah,
as they're eating a steak or
probably just
like
that. turn the camera on themselves and just really just eat their favorite food. Absolutely, get in there.
But yeah, nothing but good things to say about this, man. It really is shaping up nicely. And if in a world where if this comes out the same time frame as World did back in 2018, which was like late January, I want to say, the beginning of the year, and you can bookend 2025 with this and that other thing looming in the distance from a company called Rockstar, that's a hell of a year for video games. Should that come to pass.
Yep, that's I think that's the other thing is like 2025 looking very busy already.
Baby.
A lot of these games at Summer Game Fest getting announced for 2025, including this one. And this is one that doesn't need to get out of the way of anything, even like GTA 6. But GTA 6 will be coming next year, apparently. And I think a lot of these games will be like, oh boy, never mind. Can we just maybe let's go to 2026? We messed up.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, let's get this next one here. Just a quick note. Summer Game Fest is returning in 2025. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Summer Game Fest will be back in 2025. It has been announced. Next year's Summer Game Fest will once include a live streamed showcase, which fans will be able to attend in Los Angeles to kick off the proceedings. And it will again be followed by Play Days, which is the invite-only preview event for media and influencers, which is produced by I Am 8-Bit. There's a roundup of other news over there on VGC. Shouts to them for the news. Yeah, okay. Hey, Summer Game Fest was a success, I think, right? I think that's sort of the assessment I've made. How do you feel about it?
100%. So last year, first time I went, second time they had it, and it felt like a block party. Like if E3 was a block party, right? This year was a little bit bigger. I still felt it was nicely contained. But the Play Days event itself was a little bit bigger. They're starting to get their feet under them a little more. And as I'm walking around, I'm realizing that the word block party, while still kind of work, doesn't quite fit what's going on here. There's like a little more to it. It's a little more advanced. And then I realized I'm looking at the map, and they called it. They said what it is for me. campus.
It's a campus.
It was like going back to college.
Yeah.
It was like that first week back at college, or the spring thing.
And you walk across the quad and you see 5 people you know. Yep.
You're slapping high fives like you're coming down the aisle to a wrestling match as you're going from appointment to appointment.
Constantly.
Yeah, it was awesome. And if you even when you had to go off site, it wasn't that bad. Like the Belasco where Ubisoft was, I ended up taking 6 Ubers in one day, but it's either that or walk through Skid Row. But it was an easy, right up the street, 5-minute, and you're there. And then you're back at play days doing your thing. Everything was spread out nicely. The map was nice and clear. I appreciated the food trucks. They came in handy a couple of times when I was, at my wit's end. So it was nice to have them right there and have a couple of choices. My only fear is I think this year was a perfect size.
Yes.
This year was exactly what it needed to be. Everything was, like I said, it was evenly spaced out, but it wasn't so far away that I was doing the South Hall to West Hall marathon like I used to do in the E3 days. It was manageable. I could get to every one of my appointments with 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes sooner if they were close enough to each other. What happened this year was the perfect size, even with registration being across the street.
Yep.
So I worry that they may try and go a little bigger, but where do you go? They had the whole square. They had the whole block.
Yeah.
How can you grow on that?
I mean, I think what they might start doing is expanding into that parking lot. But what they did this year compared to last year, as far as I could tell, is maybe they had these last year, but I didn't notice them. They got a little bit more dense, where they put those cabanas to use outside, where it's like, they enshrouded them with tarps so they could pump air conditioning in there or whatever. But it's like, okay, we'll put like 4 more places in there, and then you can go outside out back, and then Sega will be right behind that. And technically it's outside, but it's still like part of everything. They have used the same space they had to fit in even more stuff. And it got, you could tell it's like, man, they have jam-packed this place with everything. So you're right. It is about the right size for what it is. And if it's going to get bigger, it will have to get a bigger footprint. They will have to begin going across the street and putting stuff out there. And I think that they're probably prepared to do that. But you're right. I'm like, does that make sense? And, I am 8-bit probably doesn't want to grow too fast with these things because they got to make financial sense for them. But I don't know. I don't know. Do you think in 5 years we're back in the LA Convention Center? I don't think that's probably going to happen. What do you think?
No, if we are, it's one building, not both. They won't use the meeting rooms upstairs. They'll keep it all confined to West Hall, probably. But no, I don't think they want to get that big either, because like I mentioned earlier, there are now multiple things happening at once, so they don't have to go any bigger than the industry media that this was. Because IGN Live, if that keeps going, that'll take care of the public part. And then if there's still some backdoor stuff at the J-Dub or whatever's going on, that'll take care of that part too. So they may have the ability to just stay as they are, maybe expand into the parking lot across the street for a little extra, but you don't want to get rid of parking too, because people who are volunteering need a place to park. So there's that whole thing to worry about. I don't envy them having to make these decisions. I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make them, but I could see maybe a little bit of expansion, maybe a little bit more, but not much. Like there might have been some empty space next to Bag Check for a little cabana, maybe.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Or maybe like Amazon took over that one whole restaurant, both floors. Maybe one company's downstairs and one company's up. So there are some places to play with it, but
a little bit. Yeah, not much. I do think that all the companies involved, in terms of like running this stuff, then that's Jeff Keighley running the showcase, I am 8-bit running this event, and then IGN over running IGN Live. All seem to make quite a bit of money from all this.
I would hope so.
I don't know. Like IGN Live had tickets for sale. I know at a certain point they were handing out tickets, which of course they were. It's more important to get people there than not. But they were charging a hefty fee to be a part of IGN Live to these developers, and they were. And I am 8-bit definitely doing that. This is probably significantly more. And then Jeff Keighley doing his thing with the showcase. We all heard the news about that. Seems like everyone is making out, not quite like a bandit, but they're definitely making out just fine. So financially, this is all lining up just how everyone wants it to. And these companies, the way it's always explained to me is like, these marketing budgets are there. They are looking for places to spend that money, and right now these event organizers are making it make sense for them for the most part. Sure. So I expect that stuff all to work together.
I think we are forgetting about one crucial part of this, and that was Giant Bomb at Night Live.
Giant Bomb at Night Live, which tons of money made from everyone paying to be a part of that, of course. That was nonstop.
I caught a toe. It's the
That's
weirdest.
right. You did caught a toe. I saw Jordy Midler asking for one of the rubber ducks that Elise Williams was given, and I was in the chair and I just did a gnarly sidearm, and it was basically like twirling like right toward him, and then a lady leaned back and it just pegged her right in the face. So I'd like to apologize. I am so sorry. I was trying to hit Jordan Midler's bald dome, and instead I hit you. My bad. I think I almost might have hit her twice, but I think the second time it missed. Luckily. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we got plenty more headlines to go, and plenty more talking about catching toes at live shows right after this.
I couldn't bring myself to eat it either.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Scrub, huh? This is why I don't let Turbo Sean do this. Giving me the thing there. All right, we're back. Hello, everybody. We're getting right back into the news. Expect a really good Xbox event for Gamescom as well. That's the headline from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. An unusually unanimous internet seemed to think that Microsoft really delivered last Sunday during the Xbox Game Showcase, where they showed off games like Fable, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Perfect Dark, and announced Gears of War E-Day. Yeah, you know what? All four of those games I thought looked really good. I'm like really into all of those. But apparently they didn't go all out, but chose to hold back several titles, and we can thus look. I'm looking forward to some titles, and we can thus look forward to more spectacular events in the future. This is what Kind of Funny XCast host Paris Lilly claims on Reset Era, where he also says that he talked to several people from Xbox team, and that Gamescom will also be a big one for Microsoft. Told you that the showcase was going to be good, and the wild thing is I had multiple people at Xbox tell me there was so much more they could have shown, and Gamescom is shaping up to be a big show as well. I don't think Gamescom will be as big a show as this, but they could definitely have several more surprises. I mean, the reality is they have so many studios, and they had so much to catch us up on in terms of talking about games that had been previously announced. Gears of War was new, but Indie, Fable, Perfect Dark, all games that have been announced, if not, for a couple years, for several years. So they had like a backlog to get through. And now, now that they're past that, maybe they do have a little bit more freedom. These games aren't out yet, and that will give them even more freedom to announce new stuff. But the fact that we have had updates on these games and dates of 2025 or late 2024 for most of them, I think it does free them up to get to Gamescom and be like, all right, now some of these games are coming out in a month or 2 months or whatever. The rest will be coming out next year. Let's take even further look at the future and talk about some of our deeper plans. And I think Gamescom, they could easily start that conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility that they could have a two-pronged approach. Like you said, they announced the dates of the ones that were 2024 at this show, like Indiana Jones, when's that actually coming? Avowed, when's that actually coming? Stuff like that. And then get into, here's what might be a little bit down the pike. Maybe this Aura, Contraband, Everwild, OD, Towerborn, games that we already know about that weren't mentioned in this. And then maybe some new projects that we haven't heard of yet. I agree with you that I don't think it's going to be as big of an event for Xbox at Gamescom as this one was, but that's by virtue of the fact that they don't have their own press conference at Gamescom.
Right.
They will be part of Opening Night Live with Jeff Keighley. So unless they're planning on just taking over that thing and giving him as many games as he wants, then no, it won't be as big of a show. But if they have like a live at Gamescom on the floor where they do 3 days of interviews and stuff like that, and they had drip feed announcements like that too, then we could be coming out of Gamescom thinking that Xbox is in a much bigger position than we even thought they are now. And they're coming off of a really, really good show. Like someone equated this Xbox show to PlayStation at E3 2015. And that comparison alone is one thing, but I believe, if I remember now correctly, that comparison came from John Drake, who set up E3 2015, which gives it even more clout. Xbox went from a PR nightmare months ago, which still lingers, don't get me wrong,
clearly,
to now maybe they're going to have some games stuff to kind of not brush it aside. It'll never be brushed aside, but kind of like get back in some good graces a little bit if these games start to come out. It'll never be fully better, obviously, but they have to do something. And this show had to be good. So maybe Gamescom can keep that going.
Yeah, I and I think Gamescom coming along will be great. I think what they need is Avowed to come out and be great. They need Indie to come out and be fantastic. Like, they need the games to be the thing now. Another showcase, another opportunity to show off games, to make new announcements. That that's the job. I like it. I like talking about that stuff. I like getting excited about these things. I like more when the games are hitting and playing good, and we're like talking about how good my favorite thing to talk about right now recently has been Capcom. Hey, Capcom's got to figure it out. They know how to make games, and it's because we're playing the games and everyone's falling in love with them. That is the real story that Microsoft needs to get to if they want to get to the point where it's like we're letting the games speak for themselves. That's not what the showcase is. That is commercials speaking for themselves. So we need to get to a point where like it is the actual games. They're getting to that point slowly but surely. We'll see. We say surely because every year we say it's going to be next year for Xbox. If Avowed comes out and is mediocre, we're kind of right back to square one, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't necessarily think that'll happen. I have no idea what to expect from Avowed. I'm hopeful. But I think that Gamescom is one thing. It is all about the games at this point. But you're right that they can begin to establish this new era of they are letting the games speak for themselves, past this point of like, oh, we were out there always putting out fires, and a lot of those fires we were starting by just talking too much, and yeah. Now, all that said, it is like, even if everything goes hunky-dory, or if everything's perfect, it is still just a different world in terms of where we were even a couple years ago from the expectations for these consoles. I don't think I put it in the news here, but there because this is like a story yesterday, I just kind of missed it. But a lot of fans over at PlayStation are like, man, why is this Lego Horizon game going to Switch? That is, we don't like that. And it's like, I think that's just kind of how it's going to be now, where sometimes these games where it's like they never would have came to other platforms before, or if it was like a Nintendo thing, it would never come to another platform. But for PlayStation and Microsoft, even if things are going great for them, which, by all accounts, for the most part, everything is going great for Sony, like they want that growth, and this is where they're going to get it. So it feels like things like having all these games now for Microsoft is better than not having them, but it doesn't feel like it's going to completely solve their understanding of how they're going to approach the future of what the Xbox brand looks like, right?
Right. And I think that there's always going to be some sort of cross-pollination now, like you were saying, PlayStation to Switch, and with Xbox it's already done to PlayStation, when it makes sense. You're not going to see every game come to both consoles. I think I remember hearing that Doom, The Dark Ages, was confirmed for PlayStation as well.
It is. Yes, confirmed.
Because that makes sense. That is a game that has a big market on both consoles. Sure, if it's day one Game Pass, the Xbox has a bit of an advantage, but it'll sell very well on PlayStation because Doom is awesome. And if that Doom game is awesome again, then why limit yourself from that market when you don't have to? And PlayStation now recognizes that. And the fans can get mad all they like, but putting a Lego Horizons game on the Switch is a fantastic gateway for the kids and the young teens, even maybe the parents that are playing Lego Horizon with the kids, to be like, oh, this Horizon game, there's 2 games out on PlayStation. We had never heard of it before. Maybe we try that too. And then bang, you have new Horizon Zero Dawn fans and new Forbidden West fans. And that is the kind of pipeline you can create now. You cannot, those walls can't be up anymore. They just can't. Not if they want this infinite growth corpo nonsense where the line keeps going up and people can keep their jobs. They have to explore every option. And if they can create a pipeline from Lego Horizons to the eventual actual Horizon 3, why would they not try that? I don't get it.
Yep, absolutely. And we will talk a little bit more about them talking about it going to the Switch here in a story in a second. We do have that. All right, let's hit this one. Team Asobi doesn't think it would be a problem if PlayStation wasn't a part of future Astro games. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Team Asobi studio director Nicolas Doucet isn't ruling out a future Astro game that doesn't lean so heavily into the history of PlayStation. Like Astro's Playroom, a free platforming game included as a pack-in with the PS5, Upcoming sequel Astrobot is a celebration of Sony's gaming division, only on a grander scale. Set for release in September, it tasks players with rescuing over 150 iconic VIP bots inspired by legendary characters from 30 years of PlayStation history, according to Sony. But in an interview with VGC at Summer Game Fest, creative director Doucette called Astro a flexible IP that's capable of standing on its own 2 feet. When we started this game, we had discussions about whether we should or shouldn't lean on PlayStation, he said. There were various opinions, with some questioning whether we should fly with our own wings and not be held back. But actually, we decided it was the case that we were already doing that, and then we also added this layer of PlayStation because we can, and why not? He added that was our mindset if in the future we had an adventure that was all Astro and PlayStation wasn't a part of it. And that's not like Sony's not a part of it. PlayStation IP aren't in the game. I don't think that would be a problem. As long as the core elements and qualities of the game are great, then I think anything is possible. I agree with this. In fact, that is already my experience, Jason. I played the game at for 20, 25 minutes.
I'm so jealous.
I flew through it. I saw some people like, I played it for 40 minutes. I'm like, fucking amateurs. What is going on here? These games journalists embarrassing us all. I took that thing apart in no time. But when I was playing it, I'm like, oh yeah, Kratos. That's great. Can't wait to get back to playing the really fun video game they made. It is all just a bonus. And, when I put out my tweet, which is hyperbolic, but I also at the same time mean it. It's already my favorite game that I've played this year from the little I've played. So it's already kind of at the top of my list for game of the year because I'm anticipating the rest of it to be that good. We'll see how it actually shakes out. But yeah, there's fanboys and people are like, but some people are like, it's a nostalgic thing and it's just that it's manipulating you with that stuff. I'm like, that is not why I like this game. I don't mind that stuff. In fact, I do like those elements about the game. It's fun to see those characters. But that is not the thing holding up the fun of Astrobot. It is 100% the creativity, the variety, just the nonstop smile across my face every time I'm doing a new thing in that game. So it could already stand on its own. So I think they're right. If the next game, Astrobot 2, comes out and it has nothing to do with PlayStation Legacy IP, I won't even notice, Jason. I think that's probably going to be the case for most people. What do you think?
I think that the PlayStation IP is a good draw, like a good way to draw people in who may not try it anyway, especially being a PlayStation 5 exclusive. But yeah, it definitely seems like the type of 3D platformer that could eventually turn into its own franchise. I'm now thinking about a world where it does get ported to Switch, but it still has all the PlayStation characters. So you take that Horizon argument I just made and extrapolate it to 30 years of PlayStation history. Little 8-year-old Timmy will be like, "Who's this guy in the black hat?"
Yeah,
and then picking up Bloodborne for the first time. That'll go well. But no, I mean, it makes a lot. Why would any company in this day and age, kind of building on what I was just saying, think that limiting themselves in any way is a solid idea? It doesn't make any sense. They have to be flexible. They have to do things like this. Is it going to piss off the platforms where they're coming from? Yes, of course. Are there companies that probably are going to keep themselves walled up no matter what because they don't have to expand? Looking at you, Nintendo. But I mean, otherwise, if you have a platformer like this that could have universal appeal, why not at least discuss that universal appeal? This whole like silos and tribalism stuff, it never made any sense to me. I just like playing video games. I don't care what controller's in my hand. If I'm having fun with what's on the screen, that's what matters most. And this could give people a lot of joy, no matter what console it's on, no matter what characters are in it. If they wanted to try and make like an Xbox version with their mascots, however many there are, no jokes in the chat, or if they partnered with Nintendo to do some sort of Mario Astrobot thing where it's a combination of both. I can see you smiling just by me saying that.
Yeah, you're thinking of the year 3000. I'm like, yeah, let's move there right now.
That could be awesome. So like, this sort of discussion, this logic makes perfect sense to me. In fact, Team Asobi is their name. I had a moment in the Xbox
You're not alone. Were these Team Asobo or Sobo Studios? Yeah.
Team Asobo, I went, oh, no way.
Yeah.
And then it was Flight Sim, and I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah,
now we're talking about flying
Sobo
commercial
does Flight
planes.
Sim. They do what's that game with all those rats? They do that series as well. I'm not gonna be able to think of it. But yes,
that game.
Yes, I saw my okay. No, everyone chill out. This is Flight Sim. But yes,
Plague Tale. Thank you, chat.
Yeah, Plague Tale. Thank you, chat, so much. I think at the very least, like what this says is, they will be ready for a future of Astro where it's like, they no longer are like, okay, how do we try to cram Kratos in here for the 5th time? Let's do an Astrobot game about Astrobot and its own lore. And then in a couple of years, when the walls have really come down a lot of these things, I say a couple of years, who knows what it actually looks like. There's always the time when it's like, if it's flexible, Astrobot could be anything for anyone whenever they need it to be. And the sort of history museum aspect can be applied to anything. Sure. I'm like already thinking like this will probably be the first Astro game that comes to PC because Astro's Playroom is it's such a PlayStation 5 tech demo that's like that was never going to come to PC. They never even charged for it. That'd probably be weird if they did on Steam. Right. This one they definitely will, and that'll be great. So it's going to be a PlayStation museum right there on Steam. That'll be interesting. But yeah, I hope what happens here, Jason. And I talked to some people at Summer Game Fest who listened to the show. And before this, when the game got announced at the State of Play, my take was, I think that this game is hitting at the right time it's the right kind of game for the right time for what PlayStation needs. And my hope there is that this game is going to do much better than it might have done at any other time. I don't think it's going to do 10 million copies sold, but I'm hoping for It Takes Two did 7 million copies as a multi-platform game. I'm hoping that this game can get to 5, maybe 7 million copies sold. And if that's the case, I'll be very ecstatic for it. And I think there's a real chance. I think this game has the possibility to sort of take over this second half of the year in terms of people being like, well, this is the one you gotta play. It's just so much fun. You're gonna miss out if you're not playing it. And if I think it can have that conversation, it's not gonna be some Elden Ring 25 million copies sold. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I think it's going to hit at the exact right time and have a chance to kind of take over the conversation here in a few months. So looking forward to it.
I'm with you.
All right. Guerrilla says Lego Horizon Adventures and Nintendo Switch were a natural fit. This is that conversation I was promising. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Guerrilla Games has discussed the origins of Lego Horizon Adventures and the decision to release the game for Nintendo Switch. Announced during last week's Summer Game Fest showcase, the action-adventure title will hit PS5, PC, and Nintendo's console this holiday season. Co-developed by Guerrilla and Studio Gobo, it's billed as a playful and lighthearted story inspired by the events of the world of Horizon. The game has been in development for about 3 years, according to James Windler, a narrative director at Guerrilla, who told VGC the studio plays home to tons of Lego fans. The story is that we prototyped the first machines for Horizon Zero Dawn with Duplo, he said in an interview following the game's reveal. There are fanatics within the studio who have entire rooms of their house devoted to Lego. Also, there was a desire from devs who had been working on the Horizon games for 8 to 10 years and wanted to make something that was a lot more whimsical and fun and to kind of have fun with the IP. Windler said Lego was attracted to the world of Horizon because it's a bright and colorful world, and because there are a lot of elements within it that translate obviously into Lego, like the machines. He also said that while the themes in the main games can be quite dark, a sense of optimism and hope runs through them all, and that appealed to Lego, as did the inclusivity of our fan base. But yes, he basically went on to say it's a natural fit for Switch because of what you were saying earlier, Jason, that they want to introduce these games to a younger audience. And while, of course, the PlayStation 5 is in a lot of homes with a lot of younger people, that audience is still mostly playing on the Switch. I think it's safe to say that the majority of them are playing on the Switch, and having them sort of have this ramp up of going from Pokemon to Minecraft into this, and then having them ready, like when they do try out the PlayStation, be like, oh, now there's a real big Horizon game over here as well. I know all about that. And now it's like a serious version of that story. And as they go from being kids to teenagers, how like their taste might change, and that might hit at the exact right time. I could see that making a lot of sense when they're trying to explain it internally why they're doing this. And at the same time, I think this game completely stands on its own from what I played of it. It is very fun. It is very whimsical and funny, like they were going for. And I think it's like my favorite version of Aloy, where she is, she's very cute and funny in this game, where it's like all the jokes really land, because I think Lego writing in general is like really lends itself to like not satirizing, but sort of poking fun at your own story. Like those Star Wars Lego shows and games have been very good at that.
Mhm.
This is the same way. And it's like, Horizon could kind of take itself a little seriously. And this is like, it's that same story, but instead after every point, she kind of makes a joke or someone around her makes a joke, and it's always very welcome. So I'm super into this, and I think it does make a lot of sense for Switch. Do you think the reality will turn out that this actually does act as a gateway into the other games, or is that wishful thinking?
I think it's a bit of wishful thinking on my part, but I do think that there will be at least increased interest. I think there may be somebody who may not have tried it before, sees what's going on here, and says, "All right, maybe I'll give the first game a shot if it's like on sale or real cheap because it's been out." What was it, 2017? The first one came out, I think.
Yeah,
Second one was in 2022, a couple years ago. If it builds the Horizon fan base, that's great. They're in for a rude awakening when they start playing Horizon and its sequel, because those stories can get nuts.
Yep.
I'm excited for these new young Horizon fans to find out what Zero Dawn actually means. But yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit, like I said, a wishful thinking on my part, but I don't think it's entirely impossible. And even if that doesn't happen, if people still get a brand new Lego game that stands on its own with these differences and the ability to poke fun at itself, like you said, it just makes them laugh. It makes them have a good time in this new world. I think that's a win too, right? Like it is the more the words Lego Horizon Adventure set into my brain since it was announced on Friday, the more it makes sense. Right.
Yep.
The more it's a more natural fit. The more videos I see, the more firsthand accounts that I get, like when you were playing it, it'll work. I think it'll work. And I just hope there's a joke about Aloy talking to herself too much. Had that happen yet? Did you get that one?
They definitely do some stuff with that for sure. When she first puts on the whatever that thing is called on her head, and yes, there's several jokes about that thing and the way she talks. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
So yeah, they get it. They get what they're doing, and they get what they're going for, and what makes those kinds of games, those Lego games, fun and funny, and they're nailing it. So yeah, I was impressed. Real quick, I mentioned Elden Ring shipments and digital sales topped at 25 million copies. Not much to say there. We'll just throw that out there. But, that is like top tier in terms of game sales. Like very, very few games get to 25 million copies sold. And Elden Ring obviously is like, if you were like had to guess, hey, has there been a game recently that's done that in the last couple of years? Elden Ring would probably be the right guess, and for every reason, like, yeah, it was a breakthrough smash hit to the mainstream, and these are the kinds of numbers you can hit if you do that. So, yes, really good for Elden Ring. Infamous video game leaker admits to pretending to be a Japanese woman for clout is the next headline. Woo, this is a hell of a story. It's kind of weird and maybe even stupid. This is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. A hyper-passionate fan base, a notoriously secretive industry, and social media algorithms that encourage people to follow their worst impulses for 15 minutes of fame. It's a volatile cocktail, and one that might explain why an infamous leaker who went by the name Midori lied about being a Japanese woman when he was actually a disgraced leaker known as Mystic Distance from many years ago. I apologize if none of that quite scanned for you. Let's rewind a bit. Heading into Summer Game Fest and not E3 2024 season, in which rumors fly about the state of various games, whether they'll be shown, and what it means if we don't hear about them, the Twitter account MBBKKKSS, a bunch of letters, which went by Midori, was posting all kinds of stuff that with just enough accurate hits to make everyone take them seriously. Midori had built up a reputation for being legit following leaks for stuff like Persona 5 Tactica DLC, Persona 3 Remake's The Answer DLC, and a Sonic Battle Royale party game. Sonic. But recently, the account started branching out into much bolder claims about Kingdom Hearts 4 still being several years off after Jeff Keighley confirmed it wouldn't be at Summer Game Fest, as well as codenames for several secret Nintendo projects, including the next Splatoon game. Watching Midori post Nintendo leaks is like seeing Icarus fly progressively closer to the sun, wrote one person in a tweet that blew up near the beginning of the month. But Midori wasn't just posting reams of apparent insider information about upcoming video game releases from Japanese publishers. The account was also building up a persona of a female Japanese leaker engaged with a seemingly predominantly male American audience, one who ran a Discord and wrote in broken English. Oof. This was enough for some fans obsessed with Japanese games to develop a parasocial relationship with Midori, to the point where they were trying to calculate her age and asking her for her number. Thank you for your friend request, Midori posted last October, but I have a boyfriend, so I don't want to date right now. You could date in Persona games, so you could do that instead. I hope you find cool girlfriends soon. Oh boy. Adding to the mystery surrounding Midori, the character would frequently talk about getting out of video game leaking world altogether before eventually coming back, most recently on Monday of this week. It is just stressful to continue because of conspiracies, Midori wrote at the time, so I am uncomfortable now. I think it's good to stop here. The timing also happened to coincide with several incorrect predictions around Square Enix games showing up at the Xbox showcase, as well as the visions of Mana not coming to PlayStation 4. The publisher confirmed earlier today that it was. Now it turns out that the only real conspiracy was that Midori was a mysterious new female leaker from Japan and not apparently a white male Persona leaker previously known as Mystic Distance. The rumors about my identity that have started to spread and will continue to spread are recently are correct information, he posted on June 13th. It is only ironic that I am corroborating information that will almost assuredly end the long journey that has been had with this account. There's a lot more to this, Jason, but boy, it's a weird story. What it mostly boils down to is a leaker came back after being disgraced previously, started a fake account, lied about being a Japanese woman, which is always just a fun ride when people try to do that one, especially as a white American man. And that eventually it was found out and people started talking about that, and they had to admit that that was the case. And that they had a long Twitter thread yesterday that I didn't read most of. But yeah, it's a weird one. Why do people do this?
I've gathered one thing from this story, that's this guy sucks. That's really
it
what
seems
I've
like he
gathered
does
from it.
suck, indeed.
Yeah, a shout out to Karate-tron in chat, who said someone replied to the tweet last night saying you could pretend to be Japanese in Persona games, so go do that instead. That's fantastic. But yeah, this reminds me of that dude, what was it, the Snitch? Or like that other leaker who ended up being some YouTuber who still gets access for some reason. And like, why would you do this? Why would you burn these bridges like that? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. You and I must be cut from different cloth, because there is things that we are trusted with in this that you leak sometimes, but I don't. Sorry, but it's things that these companies trust us with as professionals, as journalists, whatever you want to call it, the ethics, and not to get all ethical journalism on you, but there are things that we are trusted with, and that's a responsibility that I hold, and I know you hold very dear. So the fact that we get scrubs like this who decide, oh, we're just going to create these, we're going to anonymously leak this stuff and then take all the credit when it actually happens. Yes, Grubb is ethical, chat. Stop it. Not to get on a soapbox, but it pisses me off, man. Like we're here grinding, making these relationships, developing these things, doing the work the way we're supposed to do, and then some idiot gets on Twitter and leaks everything, and then gets all the credit for it because he mentioned it. It just that part pisses me off, and I'm glad he got found out. And sorry, yeah,
it is the kind of thing where this side of leak culture is still really weird to me. The stuff I do is reporting. I put it out on the show. I put my name behind it. I put reputation behind it. I don't have any fake accounts, Jason. I don't even really understand people how they get started down that path of trying to build personas that they can trade clout on. Because I'm like, Jason, I can't do this for clout. I got kids to feed. That's what I'm trying to do over here. They can't eat clout. So I don't fully understand how why that works. You could obviously turn that into something eventually, sure, but I think that this is clearly a byproduct of as Ethan said in the story, the algorithms on social media and monetizing tweets. I think that was something recently that's made this stuff flare up in a really, really annoying way recently. But yeah, I had several conversations with several other journalists that do what I do, where we leak stuff, and it's we have our lines. I had a conversation with someone where I'm very frustrated when I see people who are industry insiders leaking stuff that they clearly got from another journalist that was under embargo, because that ruins it. That ruins it for everybody. That is something I have never done and will never do.
Absolutely not.
Because it straight up makes it a problem for everyone else. These companies are already so ready to shut down every line of communication, and I'm not someone who's like trying to get access to all these companies. That's just not where I'm at anymore. I'm not trying to do access journalism really anymore. But I'm not going to mess with that for everyone else either. That is like
Right.
it is the lifeblood of a lot of the industry, including my friends over at GameSpot. They talk to these companies. They have very good relationships with them, and it's like, no, if we have an embargo, or I know someone has an embargo on this stuff, and that's how I get the information. It will never ever spill out that way. So which is why I'm like, hey, companies, if you want this to stop, just put me under embargo. That is the easiest way to get it to stop. But whatever. And this definitely feels like it's part of that, where it is salt the earth style leaking and just going for it all and risking it all. And now once again, it's like it's just crashing and burning in front of Midori's eyes. So, or whoever Mystic, whatever the hell his name was.
I can make up dumb rumors under a fake Twitter account too. But if I ever got found out about it, my professional persona, whatever you want to call it, would be shot. It just and that the one you said about a journalist getting it from another journalist who's under embargo, that one, oh God,
it's not. It's bad for everybody.
I want people to like me, Jeff. I can't start yelling.
I know, but it is something that I wish we could stamp out a little bit more, because it's just it makes the job harder for everyone else. And
it does.
Embargoes are the kind of thing where if people might hear those things and be like, well, embargoes, that seems shady. They're not. It is just an act of convenience for everybody. Everyone can get the information at time that is convenient to them, have time to work on their coverage however they need to, and then it comes out at a time where we all agree upon, so that we can have some work-life balance. That's how I view embargoes. NDAs, I don't like signing. That's a different thing, but because it's like effectively the same thing, but now with threats of legal action, we don't need that. But embargoes are mostly just a friendly thing.
And this is news too, right? So news embargoes should be even easier to follow.
Yeah.
They give you information. Don't say it till we tell you, to create a bit of fairness among the media and stuff like that. Reviews are the same way, right? If you put your review out for other people, that could affect the company giving, like Nintendo. We're talking about Nintendo jail in the chat here. Nintendo, a freelancer a couple years ago, put their review out early, a couple hours early or something, and that basically screwed review copies for freelancers from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot, as a freelancer, unless I have an outlet lined up, cannot get review code from Nintendo anymore. And I don't necessarily blame them. It's what they have to do. But, like, I would love to be able to say, I have code in hand, let me review this for you. That's a strong pitch if I already have the code. And now, because of that one jerk, I can't do that anymore, because they don't give the codes unless I have the outlets first. Yep. It's just I could...
The stuff with my understanding, like, we're not part of it, we're not in it. So my understanding is, like, apparently Nintendo forces these companies to these coverage outlets to use the newer Switch that has the better chip on it, and has to be whitelisted. It's like this whole process. It's nuts. It is nuts out there. I
couldn't do guides for IGN for Princess Peach's Showtime for that reason. I still have a launch Switch. Weird thing.
All right. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero's Furious Fighting Packs is a nostalgic punch. This is from Jason Finelli at GameSpot. Jason, you want to tell me about this?
Oh, the game is so fun. Oh God. It's like I went back to high school when I sat down and started playing this thing, man. The old Tenkaichi games with the third person angled view and being able to, just find the person on the map and beat the crap out of them, knock them through a building, knock them through a rock, all that stuff. Game was so damn fun.
Good.
I want to clear up some things. So GameSpot put a video up, 5.5 minutes of me talking with Jordan Ramey about this demo. And there's one thing in there that became a discussion in the comments, and I want to clear it up right now. Each evolution in the chain for like someone's different forms are not separate characters. If I pick Vegeta from Dragon Ball Super, who is Super Saiyan God, if I pick that form, I then can't pick his base form or his Super Saiyan Blue form. It grays out all three, because if I am using him in a battle, I have the ability to go up or down the evolutionary chain with a certain
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. If using some key or there's like a little symbol that tells you can do it. So if I pick one, I pick them all, and then I have access to them all, and it grays out the rest of the choices. Like I tried to pick Super Saiyan, what was it? Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct. I was Ultra Instinct Goku, and then it just eliminated the rest of them because it would let me go down the chain if I wanted to. Now there are characters this doesn't apply to because they only have one form. Like Majin Buu is one form. Bergamo, who was in the game from Dragon Ball Super, is one form. Stuff like that. I want to clear that up because it wasn't.
I was confused
tried to show that.
Yeah, I think people in chat were.
I tried to show that in the capture. I tried to show like in the character select screen that when you select a character, go on. Yeah, Fat Buu. Sorry, Fat Buu was the only one in the demo. There were other forms of Buu, but only Fat Buu was in the demo.
Right.
So I'll just clarify that too. So aside from that, oh yeah, the game is awesome. The game is so much fun to play. It feels like it did back then, just with much better visuals, much better like just the screen, way the screen fills with color during a level 3 super and all this other stuff. Really, really fun. Now I only got to play versus battle, one player versus CPU. We didn't get to do any of the single player stuff, like the episode battles where you can like choose different paths in the actual storyline. Didn't get to do that, but we heard about it. A couple other things, like we didn't get to do the custom battles where you can make your own little stories. Didn't get to do that, but the core gameplay, nailed it. Bang, I'm in.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I think it looks pretty good. I was never I don't think I ever played a Budokai of any kind. So interested to check this out like as a newcomer and hopefully get like the best version that they've ever put out. That would be excellent. All right.
Hey, looks like that to me. Sorry.
Okay. No, that is exactly what I want to hear. So I'm very excited to hear that. All right. Poll question coming up in a second. Before we do that, Jason, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you have going on, where they can find this Dragon Ball Sparking Zero impressions and all that good stuff?
Certainly. Big Man Finelli on Twitter, BigManFanelli is where you can find me. I have all my SGF coverage going up so far. 6 articles down, 12 to go. You can read about Monster Hunter Now and Monster Hunter Wilds on MMORPG. You can read about New World Aeternum and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero on GameSpot. I have something coming to the Epic Game Store soon on Sonic X Shadow Generations. Did get a chance to play that as well. A couple things in the pipeline that I can talk about because there are no embargoes. And Notria, the last song, they gave us a little guide to after we were done that demo. It's a Dark Souls. It's a Souls-like, but it's got a little paisan in it. It's Italian folklore, Italian culture, Commedia dell'arte with the masks. Excellent stuff. I'm excited to talk about that in my preview. What else? I got my schedule.
Instead of Estes Flask, you get a spicy meatball.
No, I didn't see a spicy meatball.
Right, well,
there was one enemy that looked like a meatball, but he looked like he wanted to eat me.
Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah.
I got some stuff coming to VGC. I looked at Fear the Spotlight for them, Yars Rising for them, which was a surprisingly I enjoyed that more than I thought I would.
Same.
And I want to point out one game from Netflix games. I know Netflix has games. That's the joke. There is one coming out in 2025 called Harmonium. It is a musical that follows the life of a deaf girl, and it was fascinating.
Ooh.
So it's like mini games and like narratives like based gameplay. So there's one part she has this she's in this mystical musical world, and there's this fairy that joins her. And the fairy has musical instruments for parts. It's really cool looking, really like Pan's Labyrinth looking sort of thing. And so they're in a room and they're separated by a window. And in one room, the one person can see this big statue of this musical god. And in the other room, you as the deaf girl has this vase, and there's 3 sections, and you have to match the vase to the statue, but you can't see it because it's behind the wall. So your companion has to sign to you what instruments are on the head and what shape they're in, and then what instruments are on the body and what that looks like. So, and it's actual ASL, American Sign Language, in this demo. Ooh. And they communicate what it is, and you have to guess what it is and get it right. If you press the button, then you escape. And then in the next scene, it's reversed. You have to describe the statue to your companion and make sure that they get it all right so they can escape the room that they're in. Fascinating stuff. There was one moment where the girl was just walking through a path and stepping on piano keys and then playing the song in the background as she was stepping on them, kind of got the emotions up a little bit. keep that on your radar. Free if you have a Netflix account, mobile game, Netflix games. That is a really, really interesting project. Look up some trailers. I was into it. That'll be coming to VGC at some point.
Very, very promising. Yeah, that sounds very cool. All right, poll question. Got it right here. Let's bring it up. Rate the summer game mess, which is all the announcements and shows from the past week. Give it a letter grade. Let's see here. Let's start at the bottom. 7% gave it a D or lower. Then the next most popular answer was an A at 16%. Then 19% gave it a C, and 57% gave it a B, which I think is very respectable. I think that is people kind of averaging things out, Jason, where people are like, hey, SGF either did something for me or he didn't. I know I was talking to Turbo Sean yesterday on the Bombcast Revengeance episode, everybody, where we went over all our previews that we could talk about so far. And sitting at home, he was really enjoying the Summer Game Fest show itself, the showcase, because there had a lot of like fighting games in there that he was interested in, and Metal Slug Tactics. And I'm like, looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, he's right. It was much better than I gave it credit for. But some people, it's like, that show didn't do anything for me. And then the Xbox show was so good. So I think people average out to a B. Where are you at on the grade rating for the overall Summer Game Mess so far?
For a second there, I thought you were showing my screen because I was a B. That was basically my logic. The things that really stood out were not pulled back by any of the things that maybe I wasn't very interested in. Like I thought that Xbox was an A. I thought the Summer Game Fest itself was like a B minus C plus. Like there was some cool stuff in there, but there was some part that dragged. Like as I said on the couch, Giant Bomb at Night 2, go check it out. I read very cool stickers. Building the Capcom news, the Terry and Mai coming to Capcom is disgustingly cool.
Yep.
Like what that could mean for the future of fighting games, that island is now being visited by outside guests. Badass. Day of the Devs was awesome. There'd be for sure. Ubisoft, as someone just mentioned in chat, that was one I didn't need, as cool as it is. I didn't need 6 minutes on Anno. I like Anno and I like Italians, but I don't need 6 minutes on that. Don't give me an hour show where 20 minutes is Star Wars, 20 minutes is Assassin's Creed, and then 20 minutes is everything else. That's weird. But otherwise, solid B.
Yep, I'm right there as well. B. Let's see here. I do have a new poll question. Let me see if I can get that going. New poll question. Have you played a Monster Hunter game before? Yes or no? Just interested, just curious. We'll talk about that on the show tomorrow here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, as Jason alluded to, you can go watch those at night segments. The whole shows are live, but I think Jan, before he left to go out on assignment, he put up, I think he's going to upload one segment per day for the next several days. So if you just want to watch him segment by segment, that'll be going up on the YouTube channel here and over the next couple of days. Definitely check out Jason's. You were great on the couch. I really appreciate you coming by, man. It was a lot of fun having you. And then
it was awesome.
What's that?
Yeah, it was a really cool thing, and then I got really into my feels and started telling everybody how much I appreciated them.
We all appreciated that, absolutely. And let's see here. What else do we have? I think today is going to be a lighter day, a little bit of a recovery day. Like I said, Jan is out, so no voicemail dump truck today, mostly just to save my sanity. I just couldn't run that show today, so going to take it pretty easy for the rest of the day. I think I'm going to go play some Steam Next Fest demos just on my own time. Jason. Yeah, that's what we'll probably do. If it's that's still running next week, maybe we'll do something with that. But then Friday, back tomorrow, Game Mess mornings, and then we will do a UPF. Me and Dan are going to play some Sniper Elite 5. We talked about that when we were there. Like, that sounds like fun. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. So I got back. He's like, install it. So we'll be playing some Sniper Elite 5 on the website. I think Mike might hang out. We'll see how that's going to go. But beyond that, I don't know. We'll be back next week with more stuff as well. Anything else I should point out? Oh yeah, Sean did a lot of work re-uploading the talkovers. Boy, that was frustrating to deal with, but he did a great job of rescuing the audio on those things. So definitely give those a listen and a watch as well. All right, let's see here. Oh yeah, Metal Slug Tactics does have a Next Fest demo. I did download that, Sean, so I'm going to play that, and we can talk about that on Bombcast next week. Jason Finelli, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Happy to always be here for you. And if you need some suggestions on demos, GameSpot has a great 25 game gallery on the demos that you should be checking out. Written by Darren Bonthus, who was a great dude.
I will check that out personally. I downloaded about 20, and I'm like, I'll probably download another 20 before I'm done. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
See you.
Paisa.
Paisa. Hey.
Hey.